Go ahead and tell me that I crossed a line. I had spent years asking my husband to stop treating our life like a schedule, and our anniversary concert was supposed to be the one night when we both felt alive again. When another fan offered me a better view of the band we loved, I accepted because it was not that serious. My husband stood behind us, slowly turning his wedding ring and asking me to come down. I thought he was jealous because another man had solved a problem before he did. By the final song, I was certain he would calm down and admit that I had done nothing wrong. My name is Cassidy Reed. I was 33, and I managed corporate event sponsorships, so I understood how much one night could matter. I was not trying to disrespect my husband. I was trying to stop our life from becoming another schedule he had planned and filed away. Spending the concert above the crowd was not that serious. Noah stood behind me, slowly turning his wedding ring, the way he always did when he wanted to look calm. By the final song, I was certain he would admit that I had only wanted to feel alive. Music had been ours before marriage, and conversations that ended with Noah offering a solution instead of a feeling. We met 9 years earlier at a house party hosted by our friend Daniel. Someone played an Imagine Dragons song through a cheap speaker, and both of us named it before the chorus. Noah looked surprised that I knew the older album. I was surprised that the quiet man near the window could talk so much about drums and bad speakers. That night, he drove me home in an old Honda with a repaired sound system. We stayed outside my apartment until nearly 2 in the morning. I told him which songs made me want to leave the city. He explained why the bass sounded warmer while the car was parked. Even then, that was Noah. I gave him an emotion, and he gave me an explanation. At first, I loved it. On Friday nights, we drove toward the lake with coffee and a playlist. After we married, we created an anniversary tradition. Each year, we chose one experience that belonged only to us. No friends, no family. We did not post anything until the next day because Noah believed private memories needed time before they became public stories. Of course, that sounded romantic when we were newly married. By our 6th anniversary, it sounded like another rule. When I lost an important promotion 3 years earlier, Noah sat beside me with his laptop and created a plan for my next application. I had come home needing him to ask whether I was all right. Instead, he showed me a spreadsheet. When I said the plan was not what I needed, he softly asked what had changed because practical help used to make me feel safe. I heard criticism. I told him people changed, and he should not punish me for refusing to remain the same woman forever. He closed the laptop, turned his ring once, and said he was trying to understand me. Nothing happened after that. That was the problem. Noah never fought loudly enough for me to know where I stood. He became quiet and went to bed. The next morning, coffee waited beside my bag. To him, that was love. To me, it was avoidance dressed as kindness. So when I discovered that Imagine Dragons would stop in Chicago during their American tour, I treated it like an answer. They were the band that had started us. Seeing them live on our anniversary could remind us that we had once been people who drove nowhere just to finish a song. I sent Noah the announcement during lunch. He replied 6 minutes later and asked whether I wanted seats or floor tickets. No excitement first, just logistics. I told him floor tickets because I wanted to feel the crowd. He bought them before the end of the day. That evening, he showed me the confirmation. For a few seconds, I saw the man from the old Honda again. I kissed him and said this could be our best anniversary yet. He asked whether I wanted to keep the night just for us, according to our rule. I said of course, but concerts were social experiences. He explained that he wanted one memory with me that did not become content for everyone else. I laughed because it was not that serious. 2 weeks before the show, I began planning the perfect video. I chose the outfit, the opening shot, and the song for the final edit. I wanted my marriage to look alive for once. Was that so terrible? The night before the concert, Noah asked what had changed between us during the past year. We were in our converted attic music room, surrounded by old speakers and cables. I told him nothing had changed except that I was tired of waiting for him to become spontaneous. He asked whether spontaneity meant posting private moments after he had asked me not to. I said he was turning one anniversary video into a moral issue. His expression stayed still. He opened the small grey notebook he used for work and wrote the date on a clean page. I asked whether he was recording another expense. He said he was trying to remember conversations accurately because we often remembered them differently. That sounded dramatic. Noah had always trusted lists more than people, so I assumed the notebook was another way to protect himself from being wrong. He closed it and turned his wedding ring again. Then he handed me a small box. Inside were 2 silver wristbands printed with our wedding date and the name Imagine Dragons. He had made them himself. I called them our anniversary bracelets and took a picture of both hands together. For the first time in months, the image did not need editing. I posted nothing that night. I wanted to save the reveal for the arena, when the lights came down and everyone could see that my husband and I still knew how to have an unforgettable marriage. The morning of the concert, I woke before my alarm and played Imagine Dragons through the apartment speakers while I got ready. My husband checked the train schedule twice, packed portable chargers, and placed the tickets inside a clear plastic folder as if we were traveling to another country. I chose a black jacket, silver boots, and the wristband he had made for me. Noah wore dark jeans and the old band shirt I had given him during our first year together. For a moment, we looked like the couple I wanted everyone to see. I took a mirror picture and asked him to stand closer. He did, but he asked me not to post our location until we reached the arena. I told him he worried too much. It was not that serious. On the train into downtown Chicago, he tried to talk about the anniversary itself. He asked whether I remembered the first time we had listened to the band together in his car. I said of course I remembered, but I was busy answering Brooke. She had sent me 3 messages asking for pictures and telling me not to let Noah turn the night into another quiet date. Brooke had left a controlling boyfriend the year before, and since then she treated every request from a man like the first step toward a cage. When I told her Noah wanted the evening to stay private, she answered that marriage should not make me smaller. That sentence stayed with me because it described what I had been feeling without making me sound selfish. Noah asked what Brooke had said. I told him she was only excited for us. He watched the city pass outside the window and slowly turned his wedding ring. I knew that movement. It meant he was bothered but wanted me to pull the words out of him. I did not. I wanted one evening without managing his silence. We reached the neighborhood around the arena almost 3 hours before the doors opened. Fans filled the sidewalks in old tour shirts, homemade jackets, and painted faces. Music came from open bar windows. Vendors sold glowing bracelets and cheap posters. The whole street had the kind of energy I built for clients at work, only this time nobody had paid me to create it. I could finally enjoy it. Near the arena entrance, we found a fan bar with pictures of famous bands covering the walls. Every table was full, so we stood near a high counter beside a group of people comparing concert dates. One man noticed my wristband and asked whether Noah had made it. His name was Mateo Alvarez. He was 31, broad-shouldered, loud, and comfortable speaking to anyone. He ran a large Imagine Dragons fan page and had attended several shows on the tour. 2 sisters from Wisconsin were with him, along with a married couple from Ohio and a young man who had driven from Indiana. Mateo asked what song I wanted to hear most. I answered immediately, and he raised his drink because it was his favorite too. Noah tried to join the conversation by explaining that the live arrangement might sound different because the arena used a new speaker system. Mateo laughed and said my husband sounded like a technical manual. Everyone smiled. I laughed harder than the others because the joke felt familiar and harmless. Noah looked at me for half a second, then turned his ring. Mateo asked whether we had seen the band live before. I told him this was our first time and that the tickets were an anniversary gift. He congratulated us, then took out his phone and asked whether we wanted to appear in a short video for his fan page. Noah reminded me that we had agreed not to post until the next day. I said this was not our anniversary video. It was only a quick fan clip. Mateo placed me in the center, asked me to name my favorite album, and told me to explain why the band mattered to me. I said their music reminded me of who I had been before adulthood became a list of duties. People around us cheered. Matteo told the camera that I had the right concert energy. Noah stood just outside the frame. When the video ended, my husband asked why I had described our life like something I needed to escape. His question was calm and specific. He reminded me that only 4 days earlier, I had told Daniel that our marriage was stable and that I was proud of what we had built. Now I was telling strangers that adulthood had taken something from me. I heard him questioning my honesty in public. I told him people could express different feelings without being accused of lying. He said he was not accusing me. He was asking which version was real. That made me angry because Noah always wanted one clean answer, while people were more complicated than his systems allowed. I told him both versions were real and that he needed to stop correcting me in front of people. Matteo had already moved on to another conversation, but the sisters had heard enough to become quiet. I smiled at them and changed the subject. The moment passed, but Noah stepped away to order water instead of another drink. Brooke reacted to Matteo's video almost immediately. She said I looked happier than I had in months and added that the man holding the phone had more energy than everyone else in the bar. I did not tell Noah about that part. It was the first thing I deliberately left out that day. Before we entered the arena, Matteo asked for our full names so he could tag us in the group post. Noah repeated everyone's names and social media handles without checking once. Matteo looked surprised and said my husband had a strong memory. Noah explained that his work required him to remember technical contacts, dates, and small changes people often missed. It did not fit the picture I had been painting of him as a man who barely noticed what happened around him. I explained it away by saying Noah remembered usernames better than emotions. The group laughed again, but Daniel had just arrived and did not. He greeted Noah first, then gave me a short hug. Daniel had known both of us since the night we met. He asked whether we were enjoying the anniversary. I said we were having a perfect time. Noah said nothing. Inside the arena, the merchandise area was packed. Noah waited nearly 20 minutes to buy a limited poster with artwork from the tour. When he returned, Matteo was recording another clip with me and several fans. Noah held out the poster and said he had found the last one at the stand. I told him it was beautiful, then asked him to carry it because I needed both hands for the video. His fingers tightened around the cardboard tube for a second. Then he moved beside Daniel and held it without complaint. Matteo posted a group story and tagged all of us. I shared it with the words that I had already found the best concert group in Chicago. Noah was not visible in the frame. Daniel saw the post on his phone. He looked at me, then at my husband holding the poster, but he stayed silent. Years earlier, I had helped Daniel secure an important client through one of my events. He still treated disagreement with me like ingratitude. The arena doors to the floor section opened, and Matteo told everyone that his group knew the fastest path toward the stage. I grabbed Noah's hand and pulled him after us. He asked whether we could slow down and find our own place. I said there was no reason to separate from people who knew the venue better than we did. The crowd carried us through the corridor. My silver wristband flashed under the lights. Noah's matching band remained hidden beneath his sleeve. I had a new plan now. We would reach the best section, sing with people who understood the music, and record a video that made our anniversary look exactly the way I wanted it to feel. The floor section was already crowded when Matteo led us toward the middle, but he moved like someone who knew exactly where people would open a gap. Noah stayed behind me with one hand around the poster tube and the other holding my wrist whenever the crowd pressed too hard. Daniel followed us, apologizing each time someone stepped on his shoes. The air smelled like warm beer, perfume, and the smoke machines testing near the stage. My silver wristband caught the blue lights above us. I raised my phone and recorded the crowd while Noah asked whether I wanted to stand a little farther back where we would have more room. I told him we had not paid for floor tickets to hide near the exits. Matteo agreed and said the middle section always had the strongest energy. Noah slowly turned his wedding ring, then let go of my hand. I took that as acceptance. The opening act finished, the house lights faded, and the arena became one dark body waiting for the first sound. When the band appeared, the scream around us hit harder than the speakers. The bass moved through the concrete and into my ribs. Noah leaned close enough to tell me that the opening mix sounded better than he expected, and I laughed because even during the first live song of our favourite band, my husband was thinking about equipment. Still, for the first 20 minutes, the evening felt like hours again. We sang the same words. Noah put his hand around my waist when the crowd pushed forward. During one slower song, he looked at me instead of the stage, and I kissed him because that was what our anniversary was supposed to feel like. Matteo filmed a few seconds of us and said the fan page would love the anniversary couple. I liked that. I liked people seeing us as happy. Then a group of taller men moved into the space directly in front of me. The stage disappeared behind shoulders and raised phones. I shifted left, then right, but every view closed again. Noah said we could move toward the side where the floor rose slightly. I refused because we would lose our place near Matteo's group. He offered to lift me during my favourite song if I wanted a better view. I asked whether he could really keep me up without dropping the poster or complaining about his back. He said he could hand the poster to Daniel and manage one song. Before I answered, Matteo turned around and asked why I kept moving. I told him I could barely see the stage. He lowered his drink, smiled, and offered to put me on his shoulders. He said he had carried friends through entire sets before and could keep me high as long as I wanted. I answered before my husband finished repeating his own offer. I told Matteo that would be perfect and added that Noah would not mind. My husband did mind. He asked whether I needed to climb onto a man we had known for only a few hours. His voice stayed low because the people around us were listening. He reminded me that he had already offered to lift me himself. I heard jealousy where he wanted me to hear a boundary. I told him Matteo had already solved the problem and that refusing now would only make the situation awkward. Noah asked why disappointing him was easier than disappointing a stranger. That question irritated me because it made a simple concert moment sound like a test of my marriage. I told him to stop treating everything like evidence. Matteo glanced between us and said he did not want to cause trouble. I reassured him there was no trouble. My husband was only being protective because he worried about everything. The sisters from Wisconsin laughed softly, and one of them said Noah could enjoy the view too. Daniel did not laugh. Matteo crouched. I placed my hands on his shoulders and moved one leg over, then the other. His hands held my lower thighs to keep me balanced while he stood. The crowd opened above me. The stage appeared in full. White lights swept across thousands of faces, and for the first time that night, nothing blocked me. I shouted because the singer was only a distant figure before, but now I could see every movement on the screen and the musicians crossing the stage. People around us cheered. Someone lifted a phone and started filming. Matteo moved with the beat beneath me, steady and confident, while I raised both arms. Noah stood a few feet behind us holding the poster. His face looked flat. During the next break between songs, he stepped closer and asked whether I had seen enough and wanted to come down. I pretended not to hear him because the crowd was loud and because answering would have meant admitting that he had a right to ask. The next song began. I stayed where I was. Matteo laughed and told me to hold on when the people around us jumped. I wrapped one hand around the top of his head for balance and used the other to film the stage. Noah moved closer again after the chorus. He asked me directly to come down. This time I turned toward him. Several people saw my face before they heard my words. I told him to leave me alone and let me watch my favourite artists. I said he had already spent half the evening worrying about posts, strangers, and where we stood. Now he was trying to ruin the best part. The sisters looked away. A man behind Daniel raised his eyebrows. Matteo stayed still beneath me, waiting to see whether I would move. I did not. My husband slowly turned his wedding ring. Then his hand dropped. He stepped backward until he stood near the edge of the group. I read that distance as defeat. Noah had made his complaint, and I had refused to let him control me in front of everyone. The music returned and I faced the stage. One song became two. Two became the rest of the main set. Matteo asked once whether I wanted to come down, but I told him I was comfortable and that he was doing fine. He laughed and said I had concert stamina. I took that as another compliment. During my favorite song, he lifted one of my hands above my head while I held my phone in the other. From the screen, it looked like we were celebrating together. The crowd behind us moved as one mass, and Noah appeared in the corner of the video, alone beside Daniel. He was no longer singing. Daniel leaned toward him and said something I could not hear. Noah nodded, took out his phone, and saved a video another fan had posted. Then he removed his bent silver wristband, folded it once, and placed it in his pocket. I assumed he was sulking because the bracelet had become uncomfortable. Brooke reacted to my story with 2 laughing emojis and wrote that I looked wild. A minute later, she asked whether Noah was still there. The message was shorter than the ones she had sent before, but I ignored the change. I answered that he was fine and needed to relax. When the final song began, Matteo turned slightly so I could see the entire stage. I raised both arms, shouted every word, and let thousands of people carry the chorus around me. Noah asked one last time whether I was coming down. I told him to stop talking and enjoy the music. He did stop talking. He did not come closer again. When the lights rose after the encore, I climbed down to cheers from Matteo's group. My legs shook from being held in the same position, but I was smiling too hard to care. The silver wristband on my arm still flashed beneath the arena lights. Noah's matching one was gone, and I assumed he had put it somewhere safe. The crowd moved toward the exits in one slow wave, and Matteo's group stayed together near a concrete wall covered with tour posters. Everyone compared videos while security workers pushed people away from the doors. My legs still shook from sitting on Matteo's shoulders, but the energy around me was too strong to stop. One of the sisters from Wisconsin showed me a clip where I was dancing above the crowd while Matteo held my legs. She said it looked like the best moment of the entire concert. I agreed and asked her to send it to me. Noah stood several feet away with Daniel, holding the damaged poster tube under one arm. He did not ask to see the video. He did not smile when Matteo called me the queen of the section. He only turned his wedding ring once and looked toward the exit. I read that calm as another attempt to make me feel guilty without saying anything directly. Matteo asked us to join the group for one final photograph outside the arena. My husband said the last train would become crowded and that we should leave. I told him we had waited years for this concert, and 5 more minutes would not matter. It was not that serious. Outside, the cold air hit my face, but nobody wanted the night to end. Matteo placed one arm behind me while we stood with the group beneath the bright arena sign. I leaned toward him because everyone needed to fit inside the frame. Noah remained near the curb with the merchandise bag. Daniel offered to hold the bag so he could join us, but my husband declined. I asked him to stop acting strange and come into the picture. He said he did not want to pretend the evening had felt good to him. Several people heard that. I laughed and told them Noah was tired. Then I turned back toward the camera before he could make the mood heavier. Matteo took 3 photographs. In the last one, I was laughing with my hand against his shoulder. Noah was not visible. On the walk to the station, my husband stayed beside Daniel instead of me. I told myself he needed time to calm down. Brooke replied to the photograph with a single question, asking whether the man beside me was the same fan who had carried me. I answered yes, and added that he had saved the concert after Noah became difficult. Brooke did not send her usual laughing emojis. She wrote that the photograph looked more intimate than I probably intended. I stared at the message for a few seconds, then put my phone away. Brooke had spent the entire day telling me not to let marriage make me smaller. I decided she was only becoming nervous because the night was now public. The station platform smelled like rain and metal. Noah stood near the yellow line, rolling his wedding ring between his fingers while Daniel checked the departure board. I asked why he was embarrassing me in front of people we had just met. My husband turned and asked whether I was serious. He said I had ignored him for most of the concert, remained on another man after he asked me to come down, and then posed with that man while he stood alone holding our anniversary poster. I heard a list of accusations instead of one hurt feeling. I told him he was collecting small details because he wanted to turn my happiness into evidence against me. Daniel looked down at his phone. Noah asked whether I could explain why accepting Matteo's help felt better than accepting his. I told him Matteo had offered without making me feel like a burden. My husband said he had offered first. I answered that his offer came with worry, limits, and a warning about his back, while Matteo had simply said yes. Noah's face changed for half a second. It was not anger. His mouth tightened, and he looked at the bent poster tube in his hands. Then he said that he had bought the floor tickets, made the wristbands, planned the route, and carried everything so I could enjoy the evening. I told him that was exactly the problem. He wanted credit for every practical thing while giving me no emotional energy. Daniel quietly said we should all lower our voices because people were looking. I told him this was between me and my husband. Daniel moved several steps away. The train arrived, and we sat across from each other without speaking. Noah placed the poster tube on his knees and slowly removed the crushed paper from inside. One corner of the limited poster had folded because the tube had been pressed against the crowd. He smoothed the paper with both hands, but the crease remained. He looked at the damaged corner longer than necessary. That expression could have opened something in me. The poster was meant to hang in our music room beside photographs from our first years together. Noah had waited in line for it while I filmed with Matteo. Now he was holding the ruined version of the night he had planned. For a few seconds, the train noise became distant, and I almost reached across the space between us. Then I remembered how he had asked me to come down in front of strangers. I decided he was using silence to punish me again. When we reached our apartment building, Leah was waiting near the elevator. Noah's older sister wore a grey coat and held a small overnight bag. She did not hug me. She asked Noah whether he had everything he needed for work in the morning. I looked from the bag to my husband. Several folded shirts were visible through the open zipper, along with his laptop charger and the blue case he used for important cables. I asked why Leah had packed his things. She said Noah had left some clothes at her house earlier that week. That detail sat wrong. The bag was too organized. The shirts matched his work schedule. A spare apartment key hung from a blue tag on the side, and I had never seen it before. My husband touched his ring, then stopped with his thumb resting against the metal. I almost asked how long he had planned to stay with her. Instead, I told myself Noah always prepared for problems that never happened. He probably kept emergency clothes at Leah's home because that was the kind of man he was. Leah entered the elevator with us. The ride to our floor took less than a minute, but nobody spoke. Inside the apartment, Noah placed the damaged poster on the living room table. Leah set the overnight bag near the door. I changed my tactic because arguing had clearly made him more dramatic. I sat beside him and said I was sorry the situation had made him uncomfortable. I explained that I had never intended to disrespect him and that Matteo had only helped me see the stage. My voice was soft. My words sounded reasonable. Noah asked whether I was apologizing for what I had done or only for how he reacted. I told him there was no difference because intention mattered. He said intention did not remove a choice after someone clearly asked me to stop. I placed my hand on his arm and told him we should not destroy a good anniversary over one harmless moment. He looked at my hand, then at Leah. Leah did not defend him. She did something worse. She picked up the overnight bag and carried it into the hallway without asking whether Noah was coming. My husband stood and followed her. I asked where he thought he was going. He said he needed one night where he did not have to argue about whether his feelings were real. I told him leaving would make the problem larger than it needed to be. He turned his wedding ring once, took the poster tube from the table, and said the problem was already the size I had chosen. The door closed behind him. For several seconds, the apartment stayed completely quiet. Then the music room speaker upstairs disconnected from his phone, and the song we had played that morning stopped in the middle of the chorus. By morning, I had decided that Noah leaving was an overreaction, and I was not going to let his silence define our anniversary. I edited the concert footage into one short video. I removed the parts where he asked me to come down and kept the stage lights, the cheering crowd, and Matteo laughing beneath me. Then, I posted it with a caption about finding the best view in the arena. It was not that serious. Noah returned before noon with Leah. He asked me to delete the video because it made the situation look exactly the way I had insisted it was not. I refused. I told him that he had spent years solving my problems without once asking what it felt like to live through them. That was true. He did not argue. He said he had treated emotions like technical failures because fixing things felt safer than sitting inside them. Then he made one final offer. He asked me to delete the post, apologize without defending myself, and attend counseling with him before either of us said anything else publicly. I could have accepted. Instead, I told him perhaps the real problem was that a stranger had been more capable of carrying me for one night than my own husband had been for years. Leah looked away. Noah slowly turned his wedding ring, then stopped. He removed his hand from it and asked me to send the complete video and my explanation to our shared group chat. I thought he wanted everyone to tell him he was jealous. So I sent everything. I wrote that my husband had ruined our anniversary because he could not handle seeing me enjoy myself. Daniel replied first and asked why I stayed on Matteo's shoulders after Noah asked me to come down. Leah posted the unedited clip from another angle. Another friend asked why Noah was standing alone in the background. I reached for Brooke. She read my message and did not answer. Noah became quieter while I became louder. I told the group that nobody understood the energy of the moment. I said marriage did not give a man ownership over his wife's body. Noah did not defend himself. He only said he would handle the rest properly. His calm looked like surrender to me. I went upstairs certain that everyone would cool down and admit I had done nothing wrong. When I came downstairs, Noah was standing beside the living room table. The damaged concert poster lay beside his grey notebook. He smiled, but he did not touch his wedding ring. Instead, he removed it and placed it on the cover. Then he opened the notebook and named a company dinner from 14 months earlier, when I had introduced him as my driver because my co-workers laughed. He turned the page. Another date. Another public joke. Another argument I had later called harmless. Noah said he had started writing everything down because our conversations kept changing when I retold them. I had mocked his lists. I had laughed when he remembered names, dates, and social media accounts. At the concert, he saved the unedited video while I celebrated above him. Now my own post, my messages, and the full recording all said the same thing. My hand stayed on the back of a chair while he spoke. The next afternoon we met at Leah's house, where our anniversary lunch had once been planned. Daniel had watched every clip. He said Noah had offered to lift me first, so my claim that I only wanted to see the stage did not explain why I chose Matteo and ignored my husband. Nobody argued with him. Matteo had already changed his caption, called me a random fan, and deleted every friendly comment between us. Brooke was not there. Noah said he had filed a divorce petition and scheduled mediation for the following week. He did not say that the concert ended our marriage. He said the concert only gave witnesses to a pattern I had spent months denying. I tried to explain the energy, the noise, and the excitement, but the room stayed quiet. Housing changed first. Noah moved into an apartment near work, while I remained in our old place until the lease ended. Our finances were separated, and I learned how many bills he had quietly covered. Daniel and several mutual friends stopped inviting me anywhere private. Matteo blocked me when I asked him to defend me publicly. At work, the edited concert clip spread beyond my team, and clients began recognizing me for the wrong event. I had wanted to rise above the crowd because being seen felt like freedom. From Matteo's shoulders, everyone saw me except the man who had spent years trying to stand beside me. The two silver wristbands remained apart, mine inside a drawer and his beside the grey notebook. I finally saw our favourite band clearly, but my husband's face became the one view I could never get back.